All right, my friend Ariel, I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk about your journey. Let's go ahead and start with just pre-6 week challenge, right? You saw an ad, you came in, you were interested in solving what problem?
Trying to lose some weight, trying to
Okay.
get into like a habit
Mhm.
of exercising and eating better and just like getting into the rhythm of doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you did come in, you had obviously probably a weight loss goal number that I know that we may not drop out on this call here because that's less important than necessarily our progress up to this point and the habits that we put in. But you had a goal, right? But what do you think was missing on your end before you got to us? Like you were already trying to figure it out on your own, right?
Yeah. I mean, obviously there were a lot of like gaps in like my education about like certain
Hmm.
aspects of fitness and there was definitely a lot of accountability missing. I'm the type of person that needs that at least as far as working out is concerned. It's
Yeah.
the one aspect of my life where I can't seem to just make myself do it. So
Yeah. Okay. So we're looking for the accountability and probably also looking for a plan that accountability could hold you to that got you closer to your goals, right?
yeah.
And I mean, prior to coming in, right, you'd been trying some things consistently on your own, but haven't really been able to catch stride and have the habits implemented that will get you to where you're trying to go. Now, about how long did it take you within the first 6 weeks to get to a place where you felt like you hit stride?
Um 2, maybe 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then I really felt like I had just like hit a stride and I had developed a habit. And I think
Hmm.
part of that is because I had already been like going to the gym after work 3 days a week. And so by the time I was 3 weeks into the challenge, then I really felt like I had just like gotten into a good um just consistent practice of
Hmm.
even when I'm feeling kind of like meh that day, like still like going and exercise.
Yeah. And in those first 3 weeks, what was the most difficult?
Honestly, like overcoming that like just complete and total lack of motivation to just do it. That's the hardest part. That's always been the hardest part for me.
Hmm.
And it'll be like, once you get there and you start doing it, you're like, okay, but it's the getting there that's
Hmm.
always been so hard. And so yeah, that was definitely the roughest part for me.
So kind of the the need to have some momentum, like the inertia, some would say,
Yeah,
to just get moving. And then once a body in motion tends to stay in motion. So getting to that
exactly.
place where you're consistently doing that.
Yeah,
Okay. And I mean, did you have doubts in the first couple weeks that you were gonna be able
most
to actually crush it?
yeah, most definitely.
And
I was like, ooh, I don't know about this, but I'm gonna try it because I don't have anything to lose.
yeah, and what was that self-talk? What was that self-talk like? Like if you could just expand on that a little bit.
The I don't know about this
Yeah,
self-talk.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, well, let's step into my world for a moment.
Let's go.
It was really a lot of like, you know, who are you kidding? Like you're not gonna be able to do this. Like you're a lot of telling myself that like I was overextending
Mhm.
and um overreaching with like I guess my dreams and my goals and stuff. And I have a lot of like negative self-talk like
Mhm.
that, a lot. And so it's always like a constant battle of learning the positive like affirmations or whatever to say to myself um, to combat that negative self-talk that's like always in the background.
Mm-hmm. And when you recognized that that was a thing, you began to implement habits or strategies to kind of get over that self-talk. I mean, it seems as though from your initial couple of first check-ins to now that mindset is different, right? That your perspective is different, that you're looking a little bit bigger picture, that you're not getting hyper fixated on small L's or where we didn't do necessarily the best that we could do in certain areas. Would you say that that's a factor of you just being in the challenge and just like, hey, day over day, we're going to figure it out?
I would say so, definitely. And it's part of being in the challenge, and also it's part of like, my own like self-work that I had been doing anyway
Mm-hmm.
outside of working out. And so I was able to apply that to the challenge,
Mm-hmm.
because I am a perfectionist and I am the type of person that just like, if I'm gonna do something, I want it to be great and perfect. And I, have to remind myself that I am human and not everything,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, is going to be great and perfect, no matter how devastating that is.
Yeah, at least not day one, right? You're not going to climb every single mountain day one the first time you ever tried it, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, let's talk about tangible results here. Now, in the gym, I mean, what is the number one result that you've seen in the gym as compared to previous before you started?
I am definitely a lot stronger. Like there are exercises that when I first started the challenge, like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be able to do this. I'm so weak. I can't. Tears. And then now I'm just like, oh man, I got through this with no sweat. Like for instance, like wall sits. Like I can sit
Mm-hmm.
through like 30, 45 seconds of wall sit
Heck
and
yeah.
like, like I feel the burn, but like it's not like in the beginning where I was like, I can't do this. Now I can like get through it and it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're moving on. Like I got some burn, but like I also like didn't have to like, you know, give up halfway through either.
Yeah. Yeah. So you would say the biggest, if I'm hearing you correctly, the biggest benefit, like results wise in the gym has just been not only you're able to do exercises longer with a little bit more confidence, but perhaps then we're not as fearful to jump into other exercises, like
Yeah.
down to hey, this is new, but I'm willing to hit it because I knew that, 3 weeks, this was very hard to do. And then I figured it out. So you can kind of apply that to other things.
Yeah, definitely. It makes
Okay.
me feel like like it's not all so as inaccessible as it
Mm-hmm.
seems.
Okay. So it's more the accessibility went up, strength went up. We can do wall sits much better. I mean,
Yeah.
what other changes? And maybe even by nature of you committing to this and then seeing other benefits, other places outside of health and wellness. I mean, what else has changed over the last 6 weeks?
I've definitely noticed like a boost in my overall energy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Especially post workout, but just in general, like I have a bit more um I was gonna say stamina, but I guess that's not the right word. I just am more like it's like I can feel like more endorphins pumping or
Mm-hmm.
something. And I haven't been like quite as exhausted
Mm-hmm.
as before. Not gonna say that I'm not still tired,
Mm-hmm.
but like not as tired
Mm-hmm.
as before. And like especially after workouts, like I might like there might be a day, say like today, for instance, I was tired and then like
Mm-hmm.
I'll go work out later. And then like after that workout, it's like I just had an 8 hour sleep or something and I feel really like energized and I'm like ready to do things. Um so
Yeah.
yeah,
So
notice that.
energy increasing.
Yeah.
Okay. And then on the nutrition side, like we talked about first time that we ever met, nutrition is a massive part of the fat loss with the muscle gain at the same time. I mean, how difficult was it to follow nutritional guidance from us over the 6 weeks?
It wasn't super difficult, at all, honestly. I mean, it gave, you know, this is what I should like as far as like how you
Mhm,
the what is the word? The components of the
mhm,
meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that was pretty straightforward. So then I could just choose like what protein I wanted to have
mhm.
or what veg I wanted to have. So that was pretty simple. It was really more just the challenge of overcoming self and like cravings and
Yeah.
you know things like that. But the nutritional guidance was really easy and straightforward. I mean, as
Yeah.
long as you can read a chart or a graph, should
Or
be
or
able
ask
to.
your coach for help if you can't understand
Right,
something, like
or
pretty
ask your
straightforward.
coach if you can't.
Yeah. So nutrition was accessible, workouts were accessible, so long as you brought the heat and you communicated. Because there was some time where when you first started, we scaled some stuff down, right? We regressed some
Yeah,
things so then we could progress. And now you're in a spot where those exercises, you're doing them more difficultly than they were even programmed in the beginning, but we had to kind of step back to step forward. I mean, can you talk
yeah.
about what that did for you mentally? Because I know a lot of people get hung up there and they're like, well, if I can't do it like coach wants me to do it today, I'm done.
Well, for me, it wasn't limiting in that
Mhm,
way just because I was like, well, I'm I'm okay with building up. Like
mhm,
I think I remember like specifically reaching out in the first place and being like, hey, is there some way like we could alter like I don't know, pick an exercise.
single leg
Uh,
squats or yeah.
yeah, like this is kind of hard for me. Like it feels like nearly impossible for me to
Mhm,
do. And you just like gave me an altered version and like do it like this and for this amount of time until, we get to a point where you can do,
mhm,
the fuller or a fuller version, if even if it's not the fuller version, just
mhm,
scaled it up. And that worked a lot better for me because it made me feel not it made me feel like I wasn't a failure. Like it made me
mhm.
feel like I couldn't do it at all.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, well, I can do this modified version.
Mhm.
So if I can do that, then eventually I'll be able to do the full version.
Yeah. So it left you in a spot where you didn't feel defeated,
Yeah.
because sometimes if you go and you go rip a $45 ebook offline, right, you can feel defeated if level 1, 2, and 3 is just out of bounds. All three levels of what they have is, I mean, it's too difficult, right? There's even ebooks that if I go by, I'm like, I ain't doing this crap. This ain't working.
Right.
Right. And so, having that coach in my experience, and please correct me if I'm wrong, has literally been the thing that for a lot of clients has allowed them to stay on the path without being too perfectionistic, without
Yeah.
being too like defeatist about it. Like, oh man, I can't do full range of motion body weight squats today. Well, I'm a failure. Well, no, I mean, we can do box squats or we can do quarter squats, or we can go, hold your hand on the rig and walk down. Like there's a ton of things
Yeah.
that we can do. It's not an all or nothing, like go to the Olympics or don't work out at all. Like that's
Right.
ridiculous, right? But we we craft these stories in our heads that we're going to be, Olympic level athletes in a few weeks, and that's just not really the case.
Right.
Slowing down is important there. So, I mean, if let's say that somebody's watching this, a woman, a man, somebody that feels like they are just they're out of shape and they're a little bit too far gone, right, in their own mind. Not a label from us, but in their own mind. I mean, what advice would you have for them today if they were potentially scheduled on our calendar to come in for a consultation, or seeing this on YouTube, or seeing, some of our before and afters? I mean, what advice would you give to someone that feels that way?
Um, I would tell them, well, first and foremost, I would tell them that, their feelings are valid. Like all of our feelings are valid to feel. But I would tell them, secondly, and even more importantly, to not give up on themselves and that it's never too late to try to make a change. And even if you're doing baby steps, it's still steps. Because and I just approach it from the same way that I approach, my mental health journey. Like it's even if you have to take it like 1 minute at a time sometimes,
Mhm.
like at least you're moving forward and you're progressing and you're doing something. But if you do nothing about it, then you're still going to be, in the same place,
Mhm.
feeling just as bad about yourself, or your health is still going to be like in a bad place, or whatever it is, whatever the reasons are that you feel like you need to start, exercising. Like none of those things are going to get better if you don't start somewhere.
Yeah. So radical, messy action is what I'm hearing. Like no matter where you're at in your journey, start today, right? Whether it's on your own or it's with a coach or it's on a consultation, like start, take a step. Is that what I'm
Yeah,
hearing?
just take a step. It doesn't even have to be, like you said, it doesn't even have to be the trainer. If it's not where someone's ready to go yet, even if it's just like today I'm gonna do 10 squats a day for 3 days a week to
Mhm.
start. Like that's better than what you were doing, which is
Then the
no
goose eggs.
squats
Yeah.
on any day.
Hmm.
So, small wins.
Yeah. And how have you seen that kind of compounding interest play out in your life on your health, like over the last 6 weeks and maybe for what's to come next, like that compounding, hey, I'm just going to show up. How has that impacted you?
I honestly like it has such a great effect on my mental health, honestly,
Mhm.
because I've been able to take a step back and look and say that even though this is hard and like I might feel like, I'm not doing so great, or oh
Mhm.
my weight's fluctuating, or oh whatever, like
Mhm.
I have been able to at least say, at least I'm showing up for myself.
Mhm.
And that's something that I wasn't able to do before. And so for me, that's been able to be like my biggest win, is that I'm showing up for myself. And for me, that's showing myself more love
Mhm.
than I feel like I could do by doing the exercise or the eating right or anything. It's
Mhm.
just the showing up for myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's a beautiful thing. I really appreciate you making time and I appreciate you being willing to share a little bit here, and I look forward to having you back for another similar situation that we're in right now. But maybe another 26 weeks down the road after you're crushing even more goals. You know what I mean?
Hopefully so.
Yeah, one day at a time. I really appreciate you making the time. Is there anything that you want to leave anyone that's watching this with before we jump?
Um, there's a quote that I love by one of my favorite authors, Jane Austen, and I think it applies to this whole process with true capacity. And it says, to run mad as often as you choose, but do not faint.
Mm, insight, insight. Okay, I love it. Well, I really appreciate you making the time, and I very much am cheering you on, and I'm privileged to be able to continue to coach you. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to show up for you, and thank you for taking the time to show up for other people that you and I don't even know personally right now that are going to see this and are going to be inspired by your journey. Thank you so much for doing that. I'm going to pop the recording there, but don't go anywhere yet.
Okay.